right? So here, if we wanted to list, if we wanted to list the employees, right, then we take this particular base URL, which is this one over here, okay, we take this base URL, right, and then we append it with the employee over here to form this URL, right? However, okay, so in this case over here, if we are assessing this one, then this particular URL, what does it give us? It gives us a JSON array, right? Over here, if you look at raw over here, this is a JSON array of strings. So what do we do over here? With this URL, right, we can read from this URL, we are reading a JSON. We are reading a JSON array from this particular URL. So the result of this, assuming everything goes right, the result of this is a JSON array. Okay, and then the JSON array has a length. So we are going to go through each item in the array, and then we're going to get the string, right? Because it's an array of strings, right? So item from 0 to item length -1, we're going to get the string, and we're going to add this string into our Java string, Java array list, right? So each string gets added, and then ultimately return this list, which is basically the list of strings. Okay. On the other hand, if we've got this URL, if we already got the employee ID, then there we go, right? This method over here, getEmp, will get the employee object given an employee ID, right? So basically we take the same URL, right, append it with the employee as well as the employee ID over here. Now this time, this one over here doesn't give us an array, it gives us a JSON object. Okay, not an array anymore, it gives us a JSON object. So with the JSON object, we can actually get the various items from the JSON object, and then convert it into our employee object, right, which is defined up over here. Okay, so we are making use of this model class as well as these two methods over here, which are basically working on these two particular URLs over here. Okay, so we could call this particular method, we could call this method to populate our list view, and then on selecting a particular row, we can call this method to get the employee details and then display the information onto a details activity. Okay, so that's what we're gonna try to do. Okay, any question thus far? Yeah, so okay, let's get started. So later on, okay, if you wanted to, you could have later on you could have replaced employee with books, so that you could be talking with your bookshop server, assuming that you have implemented a service to list your books or search for books, for example, and then provide some data for a particular book ISBN. Okay, so the data is different, but the idea remains the same. Okay, now over here, this service actually performs a select on the database, right? Right, to retrieve the employee IDs. Okay, but actually, you could have hardwired this WCF service as well, right? It need not be database. You could be hardwiring it. Okay, so what I'm saying is that in terms of implementation, this could have been a stub, right? Although I'm accessing the database, but if your database is not ready, for example, you can just hard code an array of objects and then return it as JSON. You could have done that as well. Okay, so what I'm trying to say over here is that in this case over here, if you had a programming team creating the app, reading from the server, right? Obviously, this app over here is dependent on the server. Okay, but you don't need for the server to be fully functional from the first hour. Right? In the first hour, the server could actually be hardwiring some standard results to be returned in this WCF. Okay, and then the two teams, the server team and the app team, can actually proceed in parallel after you've hardwired it. Go and make an actual implementation, right? So that the app team doesn't have to wait for the actual implementation to be completed. You can hardwire a stub very quickly in maybe 10 minutes. Okay, and then the server will be ready for the app team to proceed. Okay, so that's just a strategy. You don't have to wait for the server to be completely completed. Just make use of stubs in your business logic. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do for the moment. Okay. Okay, so this part over here requires HTTP access, right? Because our JSON parser over here needs to read the JSON data by HTTP. So this part over here, I've told you is standard code, right? This part does the network connection to the HTTP server, and this part reads an input stream. Okay, so this part over here, for this app to work, we actually need internet access permission, right? You need to add into your manifest internet access, okay, as well as for the moment you need to add this line. Okay, the reason is that Android wants you to read the network in the background. Why? Because network access is potentially slow, right? So imagine maybe your server is halfway around the world, right? Network access will be slow. If you read the network on the foreground, then what will happen is that your app will look to be sluggish. It might behave very slowly. Users might get the idea that, hey, something's not working, for example, because it's running in the foreground waiting for data to come in, right? So that's why Android insists that you read network data in the background. If you persist to read network data in the foreground, the Android framework actually crashes your app, right? So realistically, in Android, is an error to read it in the foreground. What we are doing is we are reading in the foreground. So for example, here we go. This read over here is reading in the foreground, and actually is disallowed. Okay, but because we haven't looked at running code in the background just yet, all right, we are putting this thread policy lags over here to say, okay, forgive me for this moment. I'm gonna read it in the foreground. Don't kill me just yet. Okay, so this is just a fudge to allow us to continue, but eventually we want to remove this and we want to put this in the background. Okay, so this is a temporary measure. I don't expect to see this in the exam because this is wrong. Okay, it should be done this way, but we are going to start by doing it this way for the moment. Okay, eventually we're going to remove it. Okay, now the other thing is we also want to be able to work with images. Okay, so over here we could also add an image view, right? And then we're gonna say, oh, okay, let's retrieve the photo for a given employee. Okay, and so here we have where is over here. Okay, so here we have a particular URL. So actually I should integrate it better with the base URL just now, but never mind. Okay, here is the URL for retrieving a photo. So this one over here says, given the employee ID, if I put it into this particular URL, okay, if I put this in the URL with the employee ID over here and a .jpeg suffix, I actually get a GIF, get a photo over here. Okay, so you'll be something like that. Let's try it. Right. So if I put the employee ID .jpeg, oops, I think is it 226 instead? Okay, 226, not 266. I need to correct that. Okay, so that's the image which I hope to display in the app as well, but we'll come to that later on. Okay, so that's where we are heading. And actually over here we also have a thumbnail. So if we do a -s, we get a slightly smaller version, right? And this slightly smaller version, we can put it in our list view as well. Okay, but we'll come to that later. So, okay, let's go back over here and we can get started over here. Okay, so so this is the project I just created. This is an empty project to start off with, and okay, so let me before this, let me confirm my audio. My audio tends to, okay, so I think my audio is correct, so let's just leave it there. We can start the recording. Okay, here's an empty project. So, and in my example over here, I am using a list activity. So really, we could have come back over here, change this to list activity. Okay, and because we are using list activity, we actually don't need the set content view. Right, so that's what we have so far. Okay, so let's expand these also. Okay, so first thing is we want to define our employee model class. Okay, so we're gonna copy this whole lot over here into the employee class. So we'll do a right click, new Java class, and this is employee. And I'm gonna override this class definition over here. Resolve the imports. Okay. I also need my JSON parser class. So I'm gonna add a second Java class, JSON parser. Here we go. And the JSON parser class is actually up over here. So again, we're gonna copy that whole stuff over here. Come back here to paste it over. So again, we are resolving the imports. Okay, so we've settled this one over here, no more red marks. Going back to employee, yeah, that's settled too, so we are fine over there. Okay, so this one over here, I told you before, we've got the appropriate URL to retrieve the data, so we are fine to go. Okay, so right now we can proceed to do our list activity class. Alright, so we are calling employee list over here to get the data to be used in our array adapter over here, so that we can set this adapter for the predefined list view in our list activity. So I'll just copy this whole lot. And we're gonna go back over here to main activity, and I can just paste it over here. And I also want the event handler. Okay, so the event handler comes over here. Okay, so remember that this actually has been declared in ListActivity and we are overriding it. Yeah. So it's already in the framework for ListActivity. Okay, so here there is another activity, right, that I want to start. So whenever a row is selected, we want to get the particular selected employee ID and then pass it to mDetails employee over here to start the second activity. Yeah. So let's create a new activity over here. And for this new activity over here, I've got a layout file, right? So basically, I'm adding some labels and text edit over here for us to place the values in, right? So again, let me just copy this whole layout. Okay, and I'll go to the generated layout over here and details over here. I'll go to this layout over here and I'll just copy everything down over here. Okay, so there are some constant strings over here which I need to settle. Okay, so here are the constant strings. So let me get down to the strings file. Okay, and I'm gonna add these definitions over here. And back over here, okay, these are all settled already. Okay, so this is generally how it will look. Right? We've got some labels and we're gonna plonk the values over here. Okay, so remember that when we start this activity with the intent, we're passing through an extra over here. We've got to put extra, so that means in this details activity, we want to get the extra as well over here. Okay, so let's copy this stuff, or I can copy the whole stuff over here. Okay. So resolving the imports. Okay, we should be good to go, right? So so after getting the employee details here, okay, we're gonna use the employee ID, and then here is we're making a call, right, to that second method I showed you earlier on. This is getting the employee details. Okay, so once we've got the employee details over here, we want to try to show these details over here. Okay, now we've got 4 items that we want to show, right? And we have, right, so we got to show the name, ID, salary, and address, right? But we also have 4 destination edit tags that we're gonna show, right? So rather than do a find 4 times and do a set value 4 times, we're gonna do that in a loop, right? So we're gonna loop through the length of the array, okay, and then call the find IDs on the IDs array, and then do the sec tags on the keys array over here. Okay, so once we get the appropriate IDs, we're gonna do the set tags over here. Okay, getting the values from the keys over here. All right, so so I think we should be good to go. So let's try a save, and let's run it. Okay. Now, what has happened over here? Okay, it tells me that I have a JSON error, okay, but really the cause of it is not the JSON, right? The cause of it is what? The cause of it is actually not being able to do network operations, right? So we have a permission denied over here, right? And we are reminded over here that actually the network operation failed, permission denied. Okay, so so looking at the backtrace is important. Okay, so whenever you get such errors, you want to consider the manifest and the permissions. Yeah, so we have to come back over here, users permission, and we want to enable internet access. Okay, so that was our problem. So let's continue this way. We're gonna, okay. Okay, so that's my list of employee IDs. Okay, and then selecting one of them causes that data over here to be displayed. Okay, so so that is the first part. Okay, so we are good for the moment. Okay. Now the second part is we want to incorporate the employee photo. Okay, so for that we want to have an extra row, table row, in our layout. Okay, so let me copy this and let's get over here to the layout. Here's the layout. So basically, this one over here is our table row, right? So we need another row up over here. So if you see it over here, okay, we've got a table, and then in the table we've got a row. The first row over here consists of text, view and edit text, and it repeats like that for 4 times, right? So we're gonna go to the last table row and insert, okay, over there a last row with the image view. Okay, so what we're gonna then do is retrieve the photo and then get the bitmap into this particular image view. Okay, so we already have the show employee, right? So if you remember over here, this is our show employee, right? So the final parts over here after displaying all the text data, we want to be able to populate the image over here. So this over here is standard. Find the image view and then get the photo and then populate the image over there. Alright, so I'm just gonna copy this and we're gonna paste it over here. Okay, so all that's done. We need an extra method over here to get the photo. Okay, so that is over here. So let me copy this stuff over here, and we are going back to our employee class. So let me put it over here. Okay, so over here we have two possible URLs, one for the large image and one for the smaller one if it's a thumbnail. So we have a thumbnail boolean over here to select whether we want the thumbnail or whether we want the large photo. Okay, so yeah, and this over here should be 2 to 6. So so actually it would have been good if I had placed all that up over here so that I don't have to be deleting it so many times, but I'll leave that to you. Okay, so this is done. Okay, so let's come back over here. Let's do a save, and we can try it out again. Okay, so this is our employee list, and that's the photo over there. Okay, so this was there initially, and this was our additional photo which we included in over there. Okay, the final part over here says what if we wanted to include a thumbnail over here, right? A small bitmap within each row, right? Because at the moment we don't have the means to do that with our current adapter, right? Our current adapter copies strings very easily, but doesn't handle the other stuff so well. So because of that, right, we end up needing to define our adapter, to customize our adapter. Now, let's go back over here into main activity. So in main activity, we were using a array adapter for string, right? Because we will only display simple strings. So this is what we had originally. However, now we want to incorporate the image, right? So that's why we have an adapter which extends the current array adapter. Okay, and over here we need to basically record the model, okay, which is over here. We need to record the model, as well as we need to record the layout, right? And the layout is basically a resource over here with a particular integer. And then we override get view, right? And get view basically will find the actual text view to use as well as the image text over here, okay? And then we can set the photo accordingly. So we need to add another Java class. This time round, we need to define our row layout, right? Because previously we were relying on the predefined one since we were using ListActivity. So now we will redefine a particular row layout. Okay. Oops, do I have it here? I don't have it here. Okay, so never mind. Let's come over here. Let's define. So what I'm doing here is I'm right clicking on layout, new layout resource file. Let's call this one over here row. Okay, so I've got my row over there. So let me go back over here to copy a snippet of the layout file. Okay, there we go. Okay, so over here I've got a snippet of the layout file. So let me copy that over here. Okay, now I only need one text view, so I can delete the other one. I don't need the text over here, so I can delete this one over here. Okay, so what I want is the image view. So okay, so I could okay, so yeah, that's my text view over there, right? So what I want to do is to pull over an image view. Oops. No, I don't need to add that. So let me do it manually. Okay, so that's what I want. Okay, so that's my image view over there, and I also need to give it an ID. Now let me confirm the ID with what I'm gonna use. So going down over here, the ID should be where we go. Okay, we want a text view and we want an image view. Okay, over here, right? So view. And then this one over here should be image view. And let's call it image view 2 over here. Okay. So that is my layout for the moment. It's very small over there, okay, but it's going to be populated dynamically. Okay, so that's my layout. So let's come back over here. I've really got that settled. So now over here. Okay, so now I've got the data over here. Okay, so in place of simple adapter, so let me go back to this code over here. We'll see in main activity, right? So in place of this adapter, we're gonna use my adapter, right? So we're no longer gonna use this array adapter over here. So here is here. Let me go back over here. Paste this. Okay, so this is the adapter. This is the new row layout that we created. And this over here is the model data over here. Okay, and we are giving this new adapter to the list adapter. Okay, so we should be done. Let me save this and let's try this again. Okay, so that is the customized adapter coming into action, right? It has retrieved everything over here, so if I click on one of this, we can display this employee as well.